Bowling Spring Lakes. And we're going to talk today about some topics and issues that are of concern to the residents of the city of Bowling Springs. So Mayor Winecoff, I'll let you start off.
Well, thank you, Gordon. I appreciate everything you do. There's been a lot of discussion out in the city and the community about things that's been happening in the city as far as roads, construction, a whole list of things. And, you know, for 3 years that I've been here, we've had meetings once a month. We've had quarterly meetings with the citizens to be able to come to us, talk to us, tell them their concerns, and let us work and see how we can figure out how to fix things. The major part is there's been a call for us having more citizens forums, but the problem is we have the same few people show up at every citizen forum. So we don't have the people who were here and make all these fusses and complaints coming to tell us what they want. I've offered to meet at any time during my 3-year period with any resident that may have a problem. I've talked to several residents who have problems and told them to call me if it consists. I've been consistent with all that. But, you know, when I reach out my hand to be able to talk to people, to be able to try to help and solve the problems, our job here has always been to try to fix the community and leave it better than what we found it. And we try to reach out, we try to do things, but if you don't come and let us know what certain problems are, we're not able to read your minds and fix it. So today, after 3 years of minutes being out there of everything we have discussed that everybody's complaining about, we've had several meetings and even one big meeting about the dams and the road closure at South Brunswick High before we even started this project 3 years ago. The biggest thing is we said that once this road closed, it would be closed to 2026 until the project got finished. It was on schedule to be finished early in October, but according to the TS storm that came through and dumped 22 inches of rain, that project got pushed back to spring. Still opening ahead of schedule, and rather than 2026, it'll be 2025. So there's things we're going to be talking about that we have made clear. We've had meetings to be able to make this clear. The minutes show it. Audits, when we have audits every year, show our financial stability here in the town. And this is things we're going to talk about today. So Gordon?
So that's a perfect segue, and let's talk about the dams projects and its impacts on Bowling Spring Lakes Road. This project was way ahead of schedule until Tropical Cyclone number 8. We had anticipated that the entire project would probably most likely be finished sometime in maybe even this late summer of this year. But this project has been really pushed behind schedule. If you've kept up with the updates that are on the website, my comments during board meetings, you know that the storm wiped out most of the temporary work that was done for these dams. The temporary work with the coffer dams, the control of water, which are the diversion ditches to keep the excavation site dry, and the dewatering systems. So that did push the project back to final completion to I think it's May of 2027 now. My thought is that the progress that they made prior to Tropical Cyclone number 8, they were moving along really fast.
Yeah.
So now, while I can't guarantee it, I really think that this completion date will be sooner than May or June of 2027. I think we'll probably see it sometime in 2026, although it's all contingent on weather. If we run into these same type of tropical storms this summer, who knows? I've spoken with the contractors about making sure that these dam sites are as bulletproof as possible prior to the arrival of the next hurricane season. That's obviously going to help us out. So while the contractor has this until mid-2027, it's my thought, and I won't guarantee it, and they haven't said it, that this project will be completed sooner than that. One of the outcomes of the storm, obviously, were the damage to the storms. But the contractor approached us and asked us what was the most important thing they wanted us to concentrate from the city's perspective. And we understand that the detour has been a really struggle for people that live on this side of town, the detour that exists on East Bowling Spring Road. We have asked them to concentrate on North Lake and Pine Lake Dam to bring that to a completion. They're pouring concrete almost every single day at Pine Lake, North Lake. Well, I'm sorry, they've completed Pine Lake and they're at North Lake right now. So we really feel like that East Bowling Spring Road will be open sometime this spring. Of course, I'm going to offer the caveat that it's all going to be contingent on weather. I'm not a structural engineer, but what I will tell you, the quality control standards that our consulting engineer, the designer of the dams, is pretty high for what they look for on their concrete. And when we're pouring concrete, it's hard to get some of these standards when it's really cold weather. So now that we've got these nice days that we've had, they've really been making progress with that. So hopefully we'll have East Bowling Spring Road back open sometime this spring. So please just continue your patience. I know it's an inconvenience, but you know, it's what we have to do in order to get these dams rebuilt.
And another question I keep hearing, Gordon, and let me tell everybody this, I live on the other side in the construction area. I have to come through the detour every day. But a lot of discussion I hear sometimes, I see on Facebook is, go ahead and stop the project and open the roads back up. Is that even possible?
No. I mean, we'd have to build a bridge, it's just not possible. I think, no.
And East Bowling Spring Lakes Road being a state road, we have to go through everything DOT approved to be able to even open anything back up once we get through.
That is correct.
That is not a solution that's possible during any major construction project.
That's right.
So I want to make sure we cleared all that up too.
Yes, sir. So let's talk about as a result of Tropical Cyclone number 8, obviously we've had a lot of damage in the city. Last estimate, it was between $5 and $7 million. We've had several roads that were washed out. Some of those washouts were complete washouts on Sunset Road and West Bowling Spring Road. It's going to take money and time to repair that. Right now it's money. I've been perfectly frank with the board during our meetings that right now we just don't have the money to do that. City staff is currently working to find other sources of revenue to do that. Even with that being said, working with FEMA is not the easiest thing in the world to do. I'm not blaming this on their in the field employees. They really don't have any say so in the bureaucratic red tape that we have to jump through to make sure that we do these the right way. But FEMA is not a very easy process. It's time consuming. You have to dot the I's and cross the T's. But you know, if we can find the funding to repave these roads and get all these project areas back up and open, FEMA, the process will reimburse us for that.
And Gordon, a lot of people think that we could go ahead and make these repairs without any FEMA approval or anything. What happens if we do make those repairs?
Well, if you miss just one step in the process, it jeopardizes your funding. So it's really a very cumbersome process. There's a lot of bureaucratic red tape that you have to jump through. Right now, we're reaching out to our representatives in Raleigh. We're reaching even up to the federal level. I've met with different liaisons for our congressional representatives and requests for funding. So we'll see where that goes, but we have to do it according to their standards. And if we don't, then we're jeopardizing our reimbursement for that.
Thank you.
So the next thing I'd like to talk about, people, you know, some of the comments that we've heard is, well, why don't you use the power bill funding or the vehicle registration fees for those roads? And I've got some numbers right here that I'd like to share with you. Last year, our funding for power bill funding was, and power bill funding is specifically targeted for road improvement.
Right.
So right now in our power bill funding, we have about $464,000. We also, last fiscal year, We budgeted $145,000 for the vehicle registration fees. We actually took in $162,187. This year, we've budgeted $150,000 and we've received $67,000. Now, while this might seem like a significant amount of money, with the road repairs and we could use this for some of these repairs throughout the community, but it's just a drop in the bucket for what we need. And beyond the damages that we sustain to our roadways and City Hall, and some of the damages that were done to the EWP project, we have other roads that need attention as well. So we're really kind of limited with the amount of money that we have for that. It's just a drop in the bucket of what we need.
And Gordon, there's been a lot of discussion I've seen on there too on Facebook that they pay the $25 for the vehicle tax and we should be able to pay the roads for that. But what you just said, how much money we bring in, how much road would $160,000 pay?
Well, that's different today. Since COVID, the pandemic, everything with inflation has gotten exponentially higher, where we might be able to, we can only pave half the roads that we could 5 years ago due to the increase in cost. It's not much.
No, it's not very much. And we're out there patching daily if we find potholes and stuff like that. The staff in Public Works is out there doing that. We have a short staff and they're doing multiple projects at the same time. But the whole idea that we can pave a lot of road with the money we bring in is really, we pave half the roads now than what we used to be able to pave because of all the inflation. And everybody knows with the inflation, you can get half as much groceries as you used to get. It's the same way with everything we're feeling here at City Hall with the projects we have to do, with the materials we have to buy, the prices have increased. So we've had a lot of cities around us in the last budget year raise their taxes significantly, but we did not raise our taxes because we knew what everybody was going through with the inflation. Right. So that makes a difference when we're out there buying supplies and trying to get the money to be able to do a lot of these projects.
Right. So that's a perfect segue for me to talk about. Right now, we're obviously in our budget development season. And some of the things that we look at, and we're hearing the people that are communicating with us that one of the biggest things they want done is stormwater mitigation. As you referred to, our Public Works Department is relatively small. We basically have 3 men that do the landscaping around town, taking care of mowing the right-of-ways, keeping the city building landscaping up, the parks, keeping the trash picked up, the grass mowed. And then we have 3 that are responsible really for everything else. So as we move forward and we're looking at increasing our manpower over there, where actually the public is demanding these services. You and I both know that if you're only willing to pay this amount in taxes and fees, this is the level of service you're going to get. It doesn't mean that level of service is going to be bad. It's just this is what you're going to get. If you require this level of service, it's going to require an equal amount of funding. So when we had our meeting with the board several weeks ago talking about what you guys wanted to do, what your focus areas were, we did talk about infrastructure and we talked about specifically stormwater mitigation. In order to do that, we're going to have manpower and we're going to have equipment. And that's just the bottom line. And with that being said, that will increase, we're going to have to ask for a tax increase or we're going to have to ask for a fee adjustment. So I'd like you to kind of talk about that for a minute. What are your thoughts on taxes and fee increases and how we're going to provide these services to the community?
Well, this is what we know. We've seen this over the past storms and we keep getting these storms frequently. When we have bad storms, bad rain, we have a lot of flooding. And the stormwater at some point has to be addressed, and I wish we'd addressed it long ago and had a plan in place. So I think we're going to have to move forward with addressing the stormwater because number one, it affects the roads. Mm-hmm. So when we put money in fixing these roads and repaving these roads, the stormwater deteriorates. And that's really just a waste of money. We've got to start concentrating on getting the stormwater problem fixed and then start doing these roads the way they should have been done a long time ago. We've had discussion that the roads really wasn't built properly, they're too narrow, they're not the DOT standard that they should be. And we need to make sure that when we start doing these projects, we need to make sure we're doing it the right way. It takes longer sometimes to do it, but if you do it halfway, then you're coming back spending money again, trying to fix it. So that's something we made sure we're gonna put a priority is doing things the right way. That's why we did these dams and made sure everything's done the right way on those. And we have to do that with the rest of the projects we do in the city. But stormwater is a huge problem.
So one of the things as a city manager that I'm constantly in the elected officials' ear about is the ability to look out over the horizon and anticipate problems. And so I believe you've been the mayor here about 3 years. I've been your city manager for 2.5 of those. And I know it's a constant conversation that I have with you and your colleagues on the board about it's not just what we do today, it's what we do in the future. What kind of community do we want to have in 20, 30, 40, 50 years? So that really our children, our grandchildren aren't facing the same issues that we're facing today. And I can't help but and I'm not talking about any other boards, but these are all issues that we inherited. We didn't come out here and cause these problems, but we recognize these problems and we're trying to create a path forward to remedy these problems. But it's not gonna be an overnight fix.
Absolutely. And Gordon, let's talk about the revenue a little bit because you know just as well as I know, most of the cities around us, we're not unique. We don't operate in a certain way. Every city around that we deal with operates the same procedures we operate in. It's just we may have a little bit of different UDO, a little bit different ordinance, but the main objective of all the cities is they have some commercial, which offsets the residential taxes because without commercial, all the burden falls on the residents and the residents have to start paying more and more taxes. So we've tried to negotiate and reach out and see how we can move with developers to be able to start bringing some commercial in because we know for the future of the city, it has to have commercial or it dies.
That's correct.
So that's another thing we're working on right now, trying to bring some commercial in here so we can also offset those taxes and try to move forward to look at commercial entities paying taxes to help out with all the projects we have.
That's right. I agree with you. Our tax base is kind of skewed right now. And I haven't ran any formal numbers, but I think it would, if you really looked at it, most of our property taxes generated by residential customers. Very little comes from our commercial tax base. And we need a better balance of commercial tax base to residential tax base because you're 100% right. Our community shouldn't have to, the residents here, they can't shoulder that entire burden. It's not sustainable for them to even be able to live here if they have to shoulder the burden that the improvements that are needed in this community, they can't do that. I mean, they just can't shoulder that. So it's important that we grow, and it's important that we grow both residentially and that we grow commercially. So we've got a new development over here. We can't really go into a lot of detail about the development over here to the north of City Hall, but that's going to be a fairly large development over there that will really help our tax base. So, and we've been working with those developers. They want to know what the board's vision for that property is. We've also communicated to the developers that it's not just the board's vision of what we want. We've asked them once we're waiting for a commitment from an entity. Once that is done, then we have asked the developer to hold workshops where they will invite the public to come and give us their vision of what they would like for it to look like over there. So back to your point that you first made, we're here to talk to you. We're here to answer your questions, but you have to make the effort to reach out to us. We make ourselves available at the monthly meetings. We have our quarterly citizens forum that we answer questions. And I know that I've said it often, that I have an open door policy. I've heard you say that you're willing to meet with the rest of any community member, as well as I've heard the rest of the board members say that as well. So I guess what I'm trying to say is don't run away from us. If you want to know something, get out and ask.
We're here.
Don't make an assumption. We're here. We're here to serve you.
Yeah. And another thing that's been brought up recently, the police department moved to a building that was bought before we even came on, because they were growing and the building was getting too small. And there's been comments that the old police station wasn't repairable. Well, one of the first things we did is that we walked and looked at that building. The bone structure of the building was absolutely perfect. So we met with Parks and Rec, because we know the seniors are having problems getting meals and the kids being there. So the Parks and Rec director suggested making that a senior center for them to come have meals in. We looked at everything. We decided that would be a good building for that. There's been a lot of discussion that we're putting and paying for all that, but what a lot of people don't know is Senator Bill Rayburn gave $250,000 without us even asking for that building to move forward for a library and for that. So we also had Parks and Rec tax that was implemented before we got here that went to pay $100,000 towards that. So that was the money that's there to get that building going, because if everybody doesn't know, if a building sits idle, it just starts to waste. And that's a lot of taxpayers' money being wasted in a building that's not being utilized. So we decided we would go ahead and do that and go ahead and make that a new library over there and a senior center for them to be able to come have meals. And if you try to say and tell a senator or a representative, sorry, but we don't want your money, when you do go ask for money for something you really need, they're going to say, sorry, we can't help you at this time.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't, our representatives, and I'm not going to say their names because this isn't a political, sitting a political platform to offer support. But our representatives, our senator and our representative in this area have done a lot of positive things for our community. We're very thankful for it, not only for the money that they've appropriated for our senior center, but also for our dams project and other small projects here and there. They've really done a good job representing, I know our particular community, but I think they've done a really good job in representing their entire district and area as well.
They have, and we as a board have made a commitment to go meet with our representatives. They have a yearly event that they expect us to come to. This whole board goes to that because of the work we do with the representatives and the senators to be able to get funding for our city so it doesn't fall on the taxpayers. So that's events that this whole board goes to. And I'm thankful for everybody wanting to do this, because it always looks good when your whole board goes and represents the city.
It is important, and it looks good, and it shows our appreciation for their efforts that they put in Raleigh.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of stuff, like I said, that we've came in, we've tried to tackle. Things don't get fixed overnight. Florence did a huge damage to the city, and we know that was years back, but it takes time to recover, and when you spend money on disasters, you've got to build that money back up. One of our main goals has been building our fund balance up, because we have to answer to not just us. We have to answer to the state. We have to answer to the federal government. A lot of people think that we make our own rules up and we can do what we want to, but really we have to follow what the state and federal government put out for us to follow, and we can't go away from those things or we'll be in deep trouble.
So, a lot of people think that you're 100% right. We're not working independently. Our charter is approved by the General Assembly, and we have to work, all of our authorizations to do what we do comes from the state. There's statutory guidelines that we have to follow. There's a framework that we have to follow. So we're just not out here acting just like it's the Wild Wild West. there's processes that we have to follow, and if we don't follow those, we're in violation. And again, that's one of the things that our audit goes in and does checks and balances to make sure that we're being good stewards of the public resources.
And one of our goals is, me and you have talked about this several times, and the board is, we've got to build our fund balance back up. To be able to do projects, to be able to do more projects, because a lot of grants that go out there, you have to have some matching funds to be able to do those. So we've been trying to build our funds up and keep things going, but it's very difficult right now with the inflation and everything happening to build those funds up.
It has been.
And we get local government who oversees what we do and make sure we're doing things the right way, always frowns on this because we don't have that certain percentage that they require cities to have. So that's been one of our main goals, to get that fund balance built back up.
So let me ask you your opinion. One of the things that I've had extensive conversations with the board is the public's demand for more services. More services is going to cost more money. The only way that we can raise money is through tax increases or fee increases. So we've talked about tax increases, but we've also talked about implementing new fees. Some of the fees that we bantered about have been a stormwater fee. We've talked about a dams fee, because when these dams are finished, it doesn't mean we're just going to walk away from them and never have to do anything. So we're going to have to fund a maintenance fee for that. Also for disaster relief. That's one of our biggest issues right now. We don't have any money to do these road repairs, but if we had a disaster fund in place and capped it at a certain level, I know some of our regional partners, municipalities have a disaster relief fund that has a cap on it. Once it reaches that, they do away with it until it falls below, and then they institute it again. What's your thoughts on tax increases or compared to fees?
Well, I think we've got to look at the whole broad picture of everything to see what we need to do, because we've heard the demand out there, what people are expecting us to do. So we're going to have to, as a board, look at all that and decide which way we need to go to be able to do these things they demand. The second thing is, talk a little bit about, because most people, when you say we're going to do this fee or we're going to do this, the first thing that comes out is a slush fund. They're going to use this money anywhere. Talk about when you designate money to go somewhere, how that money has to really be there for that.
So there's different type of funds that are available. You have restricted funds, unrestricted funds, committed funds, and uncommitted funds that are all part of your budget process. When you put a restricted fund, say like if you're going to charge let's say a stormwater fee based on impervious surface, you restrict those funds that they can only be used for stormwater. Same thing if you created a fund and those funds that fee was generated for dams maintenance, it could only be used for dams maintenance. Same thing with disaster relief. If you designated that fee for disaster relief, it doesn't go into our general fund. In our general fund, we have the ability to move money around. When you have fees that are in restricted funds, they can only be used statutorily. They can only be used for those items. It's like when we have a capital project. One of the beautiful things I talked to you guys about capital project ordinance. When you put money into when you move money from a general fund to a capital project ordinance, then it can't be used for anything but a capital project. The beautiful thing about a capital project ordinance is that the board that's sitting here today, they designate those funds to go to that capital project or that restricted fund. Let's say the board changes in 2 years. They can't change that. They're committed to that. They can't take that money out of that and put it elsewhere. So the accusations that we're having slush funds, we're all sitting here driving new vehicles, it's just not accurate. It's not the way we do business.
And that's the same thing for grants and any kind of other funding that comes in for specific projects. they still have to go for that project and can't be used for anything else either, couldn't it?
That's absolutely correct. So for the money that's been appropriated from the North Carolina General Assembly for our dams project, we can't use that to pave roads. I mean, it'd be really nice if we could, because we've got the money in the dams project, but we're gonna need that for the dams project. We don't wanna come up short.
Right.
But the state, LGC, Local Government Commission does not allow for that.
Correct.
So,
Well, we've discussed a lot today.
yeah, do you have anything? So I've talked about what I really wanted to talk about.
Well, let me I want to say a couple things. You know, there's going to people, no matter what we say, are going to disagree with everything we say. And there's nothing we can do about that. One of the most beautiful things out there is freedom of speech. So, but there's times when, you know, you start getting into all this wild accusations and start discussing things. And if you don't know how government works, we've also been talking about how we may have a citizens academy starting up to let the citizens come in and see exactly how government works. And it takes you through all the departments and lets you and gives you the knowledge of exactly what we have to go through on a day-to-day basis and what this staff have to go through on a day-to-day basis. So I think that will be something that will be good if anybody's willing to come and go to these classes. The other thing is there's been comments out there that this board may drive, and specifically me, we don't care about the people, we drive our fancy cars, we live in our fancy houses. I'm gonna give you a little background history of me. I don't drive a fancy car, don't live in a fancy house, I put my pants on one leg at a time. I've worked since I was 15 years old. I have worked 2 jobs probably half my life because I wanted to make sure my family was taken care of the way they need to be taken care of. When I buy a car, I buy it for my family and my wife. And when I build my house, I live on the other side over there in a middle-class house. You know, I don't tell people how they should live, and nobody's gonna tell me how I should live. I've worked hard to plan for retirement, and I'm gonna do my retirement the way I wanna do it, just like you wanna live your life. This is nothing a job that I sought after and needed. I've always been a person who has worked for their community. I have volunteered for committees. I have volunteered for building humanity houses, but it's something I've always wanted to do was serve my community. And when I decided to come be a mayor, that was my whole goal, is to try to bring the city back from the worst hurricane that we've ever seen. And I think people need to be able to live their own life. There's a lot of mean, aggressive tone that I don't understand why it's out there, because everybody that works in this city is not out for themselves. This board, none of us are out for ourselves. We're doing this to be able to help our community. And that's my whole mission for being here. I don't need a job. I mean, I planned my retirement quite well for my family and myself. And I think to get along and make our community strong, you have to work together. And if you're not willing to reach out and work with us, then complaining doesn't solve anything. Like I said, we can't read minds. We don't know what you mean. The staff's out every day doing their job. And I think, you know, I've seen this in other cities. It's always good to build it up than tear it down. And that's what I've got to say is, you know, we're here to be able to make our city better. And there's something that you don't like or something you want to let us know, my door's always been open. The manager's door's always been open. The board's door's always open. Reach out to us. I mean, like I said, I'm not afraid to come meet with anybody. I'll come to your house. You can come meet me here. I've answered phone calls and told a lady, not just recently, she's got a problem, and if it happens at 9 o'clock at night, call me. I'll come here and see what your problem is with your neighbor. So that's what we're supposed to do when we work for the residents. And I've always had that commitment, and that commitment won't change. So that's my little 2-minute say.
Okay.
So
I'm going to close with just to kind of follow up on something that you said. You know, one of the things that we have discussed with the board is having a citizens academy, because I think one of the biggest misunderstandings out there that people don't see is, and I can see this because I came from the private sector. The private sector, the way business is done in the private sector is completely different than the way it's done in the public sector. Private sector moves very fast. Nothing in the public sector moves very fast. It's simply because of all the rules and statutory requirements that we have to follow. Also, following up with the Citizens Academy, I think it would give people a better understanding. And I think that's something that as we move forward, we'll implement. But to your point, we, the elected officials and the majority of my staff, city staff, we don't come here to get rich. We come here to improve the quality of life for the people that live in this community. As a manager, that's my number one goal. My number one goal is to do no harm, but to improve the quality of life for the people that live here, and understand that that takes time. And so I've always said one of my favorite sayings to say is either you're part of the problem or you're probably part of the solution. And you can sit here and tear us down all you want to. It's not going to change the way I go about doing my job. It's not going to change the way that you guys do your job and make the policy decisions that you do. We can either work together to improve this community, or you can continue to snipe at us. That's fine by me. I'm pretty thick-skinned. But we all have to work together if we really want to make this community to the way we want it to be, the way they want it to be.
Right.
So I think this has been a very good discussion. I hope it answers some of the questions that people have. Also, I'm hopeful that people can see that we want to be transparent, but it's a two-way street. You got to meet us. Can't run away from us.
And what I've asked the manager to do, I would like to do this once a month, to be able to answer questions, to be able to lay out things that we're looking at and possibly moving forward.
Very good.
So, but thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad we were here today to be able to talk to everybody, and I hope you like what we had to say. And all this is backed up by minutes, audits, and these are the true facts of what's going on in the city.
And I'll close by saying, you might not like what we had to say, but at least you know our position on it. And if you disagree, come to us in a respectful manner.
Thank you.
Thank you.